up to Ois Chof in Amud HaTfilah. And we're talking about the words Tzor Ta'aseh Lateva. And we've learned already different approaches from the different Talmidim. In this we can see how one person says one thing. It means so many different things to different people, because we're going to see how the Baal Shem Tov's words are being viewed, being rewritten, based on the Talmidim that listen to him, each one with their own interpretation, with their own approach. And this has to do with the madrigas, the levels that people are on. There's no two people on the same level. And the level is not just a place from where you're looking. The level is an entire world. The madriga that you're in is an entire existence, is an entire reality. And so every word is going to have a different meaning in that world. It's not the same meaning as in any other world. And since we are all in different worlds, it means that all of us are getting a different experience from the same words. This relates back to the concept of worlds. What are these worlds? Why do they exist? Where are we? What are we floating in? There's this huge sea of potential consciousness that we're floating in. What's the structure? Where are we swimming? What direction do you want to go? And so what creation means, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created, what does it mean he created? It means he left the infinite space in order to reside in the finite. That's what creation means. Before creation, the infinite essence is all. And after creation, the infinite essence is dressed up in finite essence, an essence that is still the same essence, but it doesn't seem the same. It seems somehow limited in various dimensions. And so this limitation, in order to create, this creates a possibility of what we call madregas, levels. Why? Because we're coming from the infinite, and where are we going to go? We're going to go all the way down to nothing. But not a nothing that doesn't exist, a nothing that exists. It means an existence that really feels useless, meaningless. That's nothing. It's like an existence that's not an existence. And from that place, there's going to be levels. Each level is a world, is an interpretation, is a place from where you can see. And these levels go all the way back to the yichud, where everything comes back to its original unity. And over there, there's no limitation. There's all the power. And so the madrigas go away from the yichud into meaninglessness, into a place that feels cold and lonely. And then it continues. It goes into negative territory. What is negative territory? Suffering, pain. Suffering is the exact opposite of the unity. The unity means there is only one, and therefore he is pleased with himself. There's no conflict, there's no pain. When we go far enough into separation, there comes a place in separation that is so away from the unity, it goes below zero. Not only isn't there pleasure, but there's suffering, there's pain. There's the opposite of what really is. The perception is the opposite of the essence. This side of the levels, the madrigas that are going down, this side of the madrigas that goes below zero, this is called the sitra achra, this is called the other side. It's the other side because it denies the yichud, it denies the truth. It and the truth don't really work hand in hand, not logically. Logically, if there's the yichud, there can be no sitra achra. That's the logical conclusion. Therefore, the logical mind that wants to interpret the world simply based on its own understandings either lives in a world where it's disconnected from the pain, or lives in a world where it's disconnected from the pleasure. It cannot combine both into one perception, into one world, into one reality. It's not logical. And yet, it's something that we have to put up with. It's the truth. The truth is more important than what's logical. Logic is one of the tools within the truth. It's one of the ways of measuring truth. But it's not the ultimate decider of what is true and what is not true. And so these madregas are coming from the top all the way to the bottom and into the negative. And on these madregas we are all residing, and on these madregas we are interpreting. And so every Talmud receives the words based on the world that he's residing in. In the Yichud, the same words mean something very different than outside the Yichud. The more we go down in the levels, if we go into negative territory, in pain, words mean something very different than they mean in pleasure. It's a different world. It's a whole different reality. And so therefore, we see each Talmud see the same thing, receive the same spark, but a different experience, a different interpretation, a different way of accessing those words and what it meant to them, how it activated them. So Baal Shem Tov, here we're going to learn from the Toldos Yitzchok. Baal Shem Tov, Zechus Yegaleni Pirish, Tzoyer Ta'aseh Lateva, Tzoyer Loshen Oira. Tzoyer means light. V'teva Loshen Dibur. Teva means words. Perish, כשאיש ישראל רוצה לדבר דיבור, צריך לראות שהמחשבת תאיר בדיבור בתחילה. When we want to speak, the thoughts have to light up the words first. כי מחשבה עושה חושב מה. And so there's a certain potential that allows us to manifest from the place that we're in. In whichever world we're in, we can bring the people around us closer to that world by expressing that world into words, into syllables, into sounds. And so even though the other person is only going to interpret those words based on their own world, and therefore they're still in their world when they're interpreting the words, but there's a flavor of your world in those words. The way that you put together the words is something that has the signature of the world you're in. And so therefore within their world, something wakes up that is more similar to your world. You're the one who's speaking. If you're expressing something of your soul, so then within your words there are flavors of your soul. The other person cannot understand your soul. To know your soul is to be your soul. But they can get a little flavor in their world that wakes up a soirus of that world. And therefore it brings the people closer. Through speech, humans can come very close. So the intimacy that we can have is not available to any of the other species. Even though today we might not have access to that intimacy. But our potential for intimacy is much deeper, is much more nuanced. Today we're afraid to reveal ourselves, to reveal our cores. We're not even intimate with ourselves. We don't really know what makes us tick very closely. Today it's too much of a burden for a person to know that and to be able to function in the world that we've created. And so that's hidden information. But the potential for intimacy comes through words. The speaking gives us the ability to come much closer to each other than we would without speaking. And so here he's saying that the light, that's the life force, before it materializes into speech, comes into a phase that's called thought. It's before speech. Even if right now I'm not thinking the words before I'm saying them, I don't know that I'm thinking them. Something inside of me is thinking them, it must. Something inside of me already knows 3 words ahead. Otherwise, what I'm saying wouldn't make sense. And so this power of thinking, he wants us to slow down, and instead of putting our emphasis in the mouth, where the words are coming out, we should put our emphasis in that place from where the words are coming forth. And then, if we emphasize that, we have the ability to give the words more power, to make the words more real, to shine the words as we're saying them. Because ma, there's this ma of machshava that he says choshav ma. Choshav ma means that you are designing, you're giving form to the potential, the human potential. Ma is begematria odom. Ma is also inside the word chachma. Chachma stands for koyach ma, the force of potential. The force of potential means the force that can manifest the potential in any form. And then from that force it starts receiving form, and it continues through a process until it formalizes, until it becomes exactly what it is. So there's something very complex, dafka, in the fact that I can say random things. It wouldn't be logical that from an infinite beginning would come random words, would come specific words. It's not logical. But it is the reality that we are inhabiting. The things that I'm saying come from the madregas that reality has been chopped up into. If we look at the absolute reality, if we look at the unity the way that it really is, this cannot exist. It cannot be. Why is this so odd? Why is this so different? So the differentiation within creation, the ability for creation to be odd, this comes specifically from the fact that we have chopped up the infinite into many different levels in order to create this possibility. And this is part of the infinite power, is that it can also be infinite, but it can also create in the finite, as we can see. His demonstration is not in infinity. Infinity is what we realize if we actually try to spend time and to delve into the subject, we can realize that there's infinity. But what's more obvious to us, what our senses are telling us, is that there is a finite existence that has many different layers, that have many different levels, that has many different structures. And so we're living in the finite that he has created. This is his demonstration. And from this demonstration, if we pay attention, we can realize that there's something before the finite that has infinite power. Because this finite, as we can see, is, for example, something that we would relate to as infinite if we simply look at space. Even though space is finite. Space has to be finite. The nature of space is that it's finite. But as far as we're concerned, as far as we can see, there's infinite space. Because the source that it's coming from has infinite power to make things be. And therefore he can make infinite space be. If he wouldn't have access to infinity, who can hold up such a space that just has as much potential as we can possibly imagine and way beyond? And so as far as we're concerned, we're dealing with infinity times infinity, and that infinity can also be finite, as we can witness, as we can see, as we can experience. And that form that it takes on, this goes through a process. And there are parts of this process that are logical. There are parts of this process that are not logical. There are parts of this process that we might call animal. Animal means it does things based on specific orders. It doesn't really know what it's doing. And so not everything in creation is logical. There are places where logic will help us. There are places where logic will confuse us. For example, whenever dealing with infinity, logic will confuse us. Because infinity is not logical. Infinity doesn't fit into logic. Infinity is beyond logic. From infinity came out logic. And there are things that came out from infinity before logic, and there are things that came out from infinity beneath logic. Even logic is part of the structure of reality. And so everything is part of reality, and logic included. And logic cannot deny reality. Reality can deny logic. Reality does deny logic. What we're doing, the fact that we exist, denies logic. It's not logical that we exist. Each specific individual, if we looked at the odds of his existence, it doesn't even show up. Even if you put 1,000,000 zeros after the dot, it still doesn't show up as a chance. And yet here he is. And humanity as a whole. If you logically look at anything that we know, makes no sense that it's here. Yet it's here. So we have to deal with reality, logical or not. And what's going to give form to reality is choshav ma. Choshav means giving form. Lachshav machshava means to create a thought. Create a thought means to formulate a thought. Choshav ma means to formulate the form of the essence. Every machshava is giving form to the essence. Every thought is giving a face to the infinite one that can have no face. And yet we need him to have a face if we're going to interact with him. And our thoughts give him that face. And our hearts react to our thoughts. And so when we are designing reality, when we formulate it, he's saying, Tzoyar ta'aseh lateva, formulate by making your dibur shine. How is it going to shine? If it shines first in the thought, in the form that you're giving to reality. The way that you're formulating reality is going to cause your words to shine or your words to be dark. Where do you think you are? What do you think you're interacting with? And so choshav ma, give form to the potential, to the human potential. And that form should shine into the words. That's from the Toldos Yitzchak. The next one is again from the Degel Machne Ephraim. Omer Adon Yov Izkaini, v'soy tachtim shni mishlishim, ibeferish omer levakesh me'oisis, haina misoid ore lekus asher betoicha milevakesh misham. So here he's speaking about, first he mentions the tachtim shni mishlishim that we've spoken about earlier, that each word has these different levels, oilemis, neshamas, and elohus. And when you're speaking, you should become aware and you should believe in these levels, meaning you should realize how they're all revealing themselves from within you through the words that are coming out of your mouth. And now he says something that he heard clearly from the Baal Shem Tov, very interesting yesoid in tefillah, in prayer. The Baal Shem Tov says that when we pray, we should pray to the letters. To understand this, we have to relate more to what are these letters? How do they contain any power? Because he's saying that these letters can actually fulfill your desire, whatever it might be. These letters have the power in all the worlds. And he says, what does it mean to ask from the letters? Haino, misoid or ha'elus asher betoicham. Levakesh misham, from the light of the divinity that's in the letters. So you should ask the light within the letters, because we said that all the letters have Oiremus, Neshamas, and Elohus. They have all the three madregas. So if they have Elohus, that's the part that we're going to direct our prayer to the divinity within the letters. And the divinity means that the syllables, the sounds that we can make, are not by chance, like we've mentioned. The sounds that the mouth can make were by design. And the intention of the design was to link our ability to speak to the forces that create reality, that include our organs. So for example, every sound is somehow activating the body. The vibrations of the sound are affecting the body directly. Today, we're not silent enough to feel exactly where each sound can touch. But the sounds will activate the organs differently. Some sounds will activate some organs more, and other sounds different ones. All this is by design. This is not by chance. It's just that we've forgotten our design. We've lost contact with our natural settings. We've been too busy. And not in the sense that we feel overwhelmed. That's not too busy. That's already almost getting sick. Too busy means that we hadn't been contemplating our nature. We hadn't had time. It should be the majority of the time. That's our natural setting. The majority of the time we should be spending contemplating our nature. That's when we grow. We don't grow when we get used to a routine and we do it over and over and over again. That's not growth. That's a form of spiritual death. It means that we're no longer engaged. We no longer have a real interest in what's taking place. We're no longer deciding day to day what life is. But we've decided at one point, and then the next 30 years are going to slave away to that one decision. So that's not natural for us. And so this is why it says, V'talmud Torah Keneged Kula, means everything that we're doing, or the mitzvahs that we're doing, the mitzvah is a way of somehow blending in the wisdom, blending in the Torah into our lives, because we're so busy. But really, the preference is, Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam, rather than doing any other mitzvah, go become wiser, because then whatever you do will be more. Rather focus on the quality, and the quantity won't matter as much. And so, when we're too busy to contemplate our nature, we lose touch with our nature. And then we lose touch with the forces that create us. We lose touch with the messages that they're constantly sending us. They're the ones who decide our destiny, but we're not listening to them. We're listening to decisions that have been preset into the system that keep going over and over and over again. And we're not listening to the messages that are coming live from creation, from the angels that are creating life. And so the letters are the ones that we've offended. The reason that life is not what it should be is because we've offended the letters. When we pray, we can ask forgiveness from the letters. We can ask from the letters to help us. These letters are the divine forces that created life. These letters are what we refer to when we say Elohim. It's the forces that are causing life to be the way that it is, even now. And when we understand how these forces operate, many things that are now not logical become logical. But we have to have the proper information for it to be logical. But the infinite will never be logical. The infinite is not defined by that. It doesn't fit in any way, shape, or form. There's nothing logical about it because it's before logical. It created logical. It created an order so that within that order it can create humans, and within the order that humans were created, they can understand themselves. Humans need order. The infinite doesn't need order. And so when we pray to the letters, we're waking up the forces that are always there. But we're bringing them into our awareness, which means we're learning to cooperate. Those who worshipped idols would worship parts, would worship different portions of this. They would choose different letters over other letters. And this is what causes the world to go out of balance. This is what happens anywhere when people don't have the wisdom of the unity, is that they worship letters over other letters. They let some letters hurt the other letters, and then there's less. There's less of everything because the unity works as one. The unity balances out all the forces to be one. And so if letters are being overpowered by other letters, the unity suffers. And the unity is the amount of life that we're receiving. So for example, today, people who are going after different forms of safety that comes from the external world, and they invest more time than necessary, whether it's financial safety or it's more to do with the social life or more to do with different external things that people find identity in, that makes them feel safe on some level. So psychologically it might be a good strategy. It might work for them. It might get them through on this planet. But if they are giving to one letter on account of other letters are not getting what they should. So for example, something that happens a lot, we want to invest so much in financial safety that we forget our families. We're not available, we're not patient, we're not really there. So this means that we've sacrificed the unity somehow. We've forgotten that there is one that needs to balance everything, and we can't just simply choose where we're going to focus. There's all the different parts. All parts are part of creation. All parts need their proper attention. And if those parts will not get their proper attention, at the end the unity will suffer, which means everything will suffer. Which means the security will no longer make us feel secure. So we didn't gain security at the end. There might be what we thought would help us, which is, for example, more money. But at the point we have it, it doesn't help us because it doesn't really work that way. And we still have the loss of whatever we neglected. Our insecurity is just going to dress in something else. Because the insecurity is inside of us. It will find something in which to dress up in. And it will stay there. And so we didn't gain really. And yet we've lost. Because whatever was neglected, we don't have. Whatever we didn't serve, whatever divinity was not respected for what it is, that's our loss. That has consequences. And so it says to pray to the letters, to pray to the forces who give form to the infinite. Through them we're praying to the infinite, because what's in them? What's alive in these letters? The Lahus, the unity, the one that dressed up in them. And so we're asking to the root of life, to the source of life, that it should fill life with blessing. And when life is filled with blessing, we all get more. Life was designed in a way where the more each one of us has, the more we all have. The more each one of us suffers, the more we all suffer, because it's one being. It's like in one body. If someone's hand hurts, then everything is less. He can focus less, his intelligence is less, his patience is less, his desire is less. Everything changed. But it's only in the hand, it's nothing. It could be something tiny, it could be just a little thorn in the finger. And that's enough to change the function of the entire organism. And the same happens for humanity as humanity. Humanity is one, and every single one, whatever they're experiencing, is part of the whole, and it's affecting everyone. And so the letters have the power, and when we pray, we're interacting with them directly. Let's do one more. This is from the Degamach Nefraim again, and this is on the same subject. Levakesh min oisius mamish. Ikmosh shemati pirisha min Adoni Avizkaini, pirish min soid Eloha shebehem, sheyazor lehem ledaber oisius bekavones emes lishmo, val yedei ze nimtukin kol adinim b'shor shalom. It says, what should you ask from the letters? You should ask the letters that they should come out through you with a pure intent. You should ask the letters that they should help you cleanse your intent. Because if you say the letters with the right intent, immediately you receive. And so if the letters can make you say the letters appropriately, then your work is done. The rest is already going to come from beyond. And so you should ask the letters that you should be able to say real letters. And this is a dress of the neshama in the world to come, is all the words that she said that were real, that actually reflected the heart. Every word that accurately reflects the heart when it's being said becomes a garment in the world to come. The neshama says, look how beautifully I dressed up in truth while I was down in the world of lies. And so this is part of the reward of the tzaddikim l'ased lavai, is their ability to rejoice with the fact that they saw through the lies, even though the rest of the world didn't. Meaning that human nature didn't allow us to see through the lies. The lies were made so thick that human nature couldn't see through them. And yet, sometimes there's a spark in the soul that wakes up, that knows. And that spark shows the connection between the Creator and creation, between the truth and our struggle. And so the more someone has access to the truth while they're still in their body, that becomes a source of pride in the world to come. That shows how close they were to their source, even when they were being pulled away by all the forces that work against us in this dark place. And so the reason the soul comes down here is because of the ability here to go so dark. This is sort of the testing ground, is we're putting the soul in a place that is the opposite of soul. And then we're going to find out how much soul it is. That's why the soul comes into this world. This is the purpose of the neshama coming into this darkness. The neshama is the intelligence of truth. But in order to train it, she comes into a place that's filled with lies. And then the question is, can it figure out the truth? Can it be loyal to the truth? Can it live the truth? Figuring out the truth is only the first step. But then, can it live that truth? Can it manifest itself on this planet? And so when we pray to the letters, we pray that we should be able to access the truth. We should be able to express the truth. And if we manage to express the truth, על ידי זה נמתוקים כל הדינים בשור שם. All the forces that are causing humanity constriction, that are limiting us, that are making us small, and as a result causing us to suffer because we don't have access to our power. So all of them have their source in these letters. And these letters have their influence in our bodies. And so all constrictions that are on a person, all limitations that are on a person are also living inside their body. There's some place in their body where that limitation is being expressed physically. Maybe it's a tension, maybe it's a pain, maybe some inflammation, maybe the nerves are tighter than they should be. Maybe we're just holding our breath in there and the breath is not fully moving through. All these are the different forces that are also present in the world of thought. And they're causing us to have the experience that we're having. And so if we pray to the letters, that we should be united with the truth through these letters, then the letters release whatever it is that is tight within us. This happens spiritually first, but then also physically. Because they're one and the same. The spiritual and the physical are one and the same. It's just two ways of seeing the same phenomena. It's two angles. It's just like the reality that we're listening to and the reality that we're seeing and smelling and tasting and touching is one reality. It's just 5 ways of interpreting that reality, 5 ways of interacting with that reality, but it's not separate realities. There's one reality, and your 5 senses are giving you different forms of access to that same reality. Well, your thoughts and your emotions are giving you different forms of access to that same reality. And so everything is happening in that same being. It's not separate beings, it's one being. When spiritually we release, physically we release. When did the tension come in the first place? When there was some type of frustration, there was some type of trauma, there was something that was resisting your natural path. And then there was a mark in one of the letters. One of the letters was offended. And now that mark is there until it's going to be released. So if we pray to the letters, we release all the marks. If we release all the organs and all the limbs, then we start having access to the unity. Because these are the channels through which we are receiving life. If there's any tightness, if there's anything that's going wrong, if there's any blockage, we're not receiving life the way that we were meant to receive. It won't feel what it's meant to feel. Your thoughts won't be what they should be. Your conclusions will certainly not be what they should be. So the whole machine is going off. Again, it's very dangerous for us that we're so used to logic. These things are logical if we knew the whole picture, but it's not logical the way that we think day to day. It's not. We would say it's not fair. What, just because of this, everything goes? But it's a different type of math. It's a different type of fear. It's a different type of logic. It's all the right things from the proper perspective. We're never going to find fault in creation and be right. But it's not going to be accurate according to our frame of reference. It's not going to be accurate just because our mind right now is set to certain settings and now it's interpreting reality. Oh, everything is going to match. That's not how it works. The mind has to be properly tuned before it can look at reality and things will line up. It's like an instrument. If you don't tune the instrument, then whatever it's saying is not what it was meant to be saying. If the mind is not tuned, if the heart's not tuned, whatever it's saying is not really what it's meant to be saying. It's not how it is. It's saying that because there's something it was meant to be saying, and then there's all the tension and all the blockages. So this is what managed to come through. It's not the same thing. And so to be mesaken the din in b'sharsha means to go back to the root of the problem and fix it there. If the tension is coming because at age 9 there was a trauma, so there, right at that place where the damage happened, that's the place where it's going to be fixed best. That's to be misaken b'shorish. The other way to be misaken is to buy time, to distract, to give something else that's good so that we don't look at what's not good. These are all temporary strategies, but it's not l'saken es adinim b'shoshem. L'saken es adinim b'shoshem means go back exactly to where it is, and over there gain new insight, new understanding. Face the problem exactly where it started, and then go another step to right before it started so that you get out of it. That's where the truth lies. A moment before the tightness came is still true. And then there was a story. The interpretation was wrong. The imprint in the body was based on a misunderstanding. And now from there, it's no longer the truth. From there, the brain is saying things, but it's not really saying those things. It's meant to be saying different things. And so we have to ask from the oisius, the forces that create and keep track, to be able to express their truth. And through that, we're misaken the din b'shosha, we're misaken the din at the very root from where it came out, and therefore it gets removed completely. So may we have the merit that all our dinim, all the gzeiros, everything that's out there or in us that is causing us constriction and limitation, that everything should be forgiven, everything should be released. We should be misaken the din b'shoshay for ourselves, for all of Klal Yisrael, for all of humanity, and through that we'll be released and redeemed, and we could discover life for the first time. May it happen soon.